Join me as I dive into the world of ATM jackpotting and see if I can replicate the insane trick hackers use to steal millions. In this video, you'll learn about ATM jackpotting, a clever method used by cybercriminals to exploit vulnerabilities in ATMs and siphon off large sums of money. The ATM system, which was once thought to be secure, had a major flaw. The default passwords and credentials of the software providers were often left unchanged. This oversight made it relatively easy for hackers to gain access to the system. Furthermore, many ATMs were still using outdated operating systems, making them more susceptible to attacks. Additionally, the software used in ATMs often had vulnerabilities that were not properly patched, leaving them open to exploitation. And, to make matters worse, many ATMs were connected to the internet, providing hackers with a gateway to access the system remotely. Hackers also took advantage of the lack of physical security measures in place at many ATMs. They would often install malware or keyloggers directly into the ATM, allowing them to capture sensitive information such as card numbers and PINs. In some cases, hackers would even install a device that could dispense cash on demand, making it seem like the ATM was malfunctioning. The vulnerabilities present in ATM systems made them the perfect target for hackers looking to make a quick buck. And, as we'll see later, these attacks had devastating consequences for the banks and their customers. To carry out an ATM jackpotting attack, hackers would first need to gain access to the ATM software. This was often done by using phishing emails or exploiting vulnerabilities in the software. Once they had access, they could manipulate the system to dispense cash at will. In some cases, hackers would use a technique called cash out, where they would instruct the ATM to dispense all of its cash at once. This was often done in conjunction with other criminals who would be waiting nearby to collect the cash. The technology used to carry out these attacks was surprisingly low-tech. Hackers would often use a small device called a black box that could be inserted into the ATM's card reader. This device would intercept the card information and PINs, allowing the hackers to gain access to the system. In other cases, hackers would use a technique called network tapping, where they would tap into the ATM's network connection, allowing them to access the system remotely. In some cases, hackers would even use insiders to gain access to the ATM system. They would recruit bank employees or other insiders to provide them with access to the system or to install the malware directly into the ATM. This made it even more difficult for the banks to detect the attacks. One of the most dramatic moments in ATM jackpotting history was when a group of hackers made off with millions in mere minutes. The attack was carried out in multiple cities across the globe, with hackers using a combination of the techniques we just discussed. The attack was so brazen that it caught the attention of law enforcement, who launched a global investigation into the heist. The hackers behind the attack were able to use the cash-out technique to dispense cash from ATMs at will. They would instruct the ATMs to dispense all of its cash, and then have their accomplices waiting nearby to collect it. The attack was so sophisticated that it's estimated that the hackers made off with millions in just a few minutes. The incident highlighted the vulnerability of the banking industry to these types of attacks. It also raised concerns about the lack of security measures in place to prevent these attacks from happening in the first place. In the end, the hackers behind the attack were able to get away with millions, leaving the banks and their customers to foot the bill. The incident was a wake-up call for the banking industry, highlighting the need for better security measures to prevent these types of attacks from happening in the future. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to check out our other videos on cybercrime and security, and share your thoughts in the comments below.